Morning, my beautiful souls. Another lovely day for a walk and talk. Processing out loud what's going on in my mind in hopes that it will help somebody else. My name's Carrie Miller, Master Coach, helping women, emotional overeaters to lose weight and get to know themselves to create the life of their dreams. Today I'm processing something that happened a couple of days ago. I had decided that I was going to intermittent fast for a longer period of time for one day. I was going to go home and not have dinner and fast all night long until I was going to have breakfast the next morning. So it would have been, I normally do about 16 hours. It probably would have been a little over 24. And in the moment of the decision of I'm going to fast longer tonight, it was a quick instance of fear of not eating dinner that night. And in the moment, I wasn't able to process what was going on because I was with a massage client. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I feel I need to process it out loud. So I need to gain some clarity on what caused the fear. I know the fasting is good for me, and we should fast 24 hours more often. But when I made the decision, what was it that came up for me that said, no, I can't do that. I must go home and have dinner. And what was it that when I got home and ate that I chose to overeat a little bit? And I think part of the reason I chose to eat when I got home was knowing that I was coming home to an empty house. My husband was at his shoot club that evening, and I would be home alone for a couple hours. So what is being home alone triggering for me, causing me to feel like I have to have food to soothe and comfort myself? And I also think there was a little bit of rebellion in there of, well, if you're going to go do this without me, then I'm going to sit here and eat. But what does that do for me? So what evidence am I using to give myself that I'm going to be alone and I need to eat when I'm alone? What's the rebellion? What's the evidence of the rebellion? What does food do for me as a rebellious act? Those are the questions I think I need to answer for myself to bring more awareness to the evidence procedure, the strategy of it being okay to eat when I'm alone and being the need to be rebellious and use food in that way. So if I'm alone and he is off doing something else without me, it's I don't want to say a stab in the heart, a stab in the back. It's a reason for him. There must be a reason for him to not want to be with me. And if he doesn't want to be with me, that means there's something wrong with me. So in order for me to soothe the feeling of there's something wrong with me, I must have food. Because I don't want to feel the shame of there's something wrong with me. Now, I also know consciously that that's not the case. That he's just at shoot club and I know he's coming home and he's with his son, and I'm not going to deny him time with his son. So unconsciously, there's a pattern of something there to trigger there's something wrong with me if he doesn't want to be around me. Why wouldn't he ask me to go to shoot club with him? And I'm deleting the fact that he did ask me if I wanted to go, and I said no, I have no interest in learning to shoot like that. I am not really a gun person. So deleting that fact and generalizing it into there must be something wrong with me because he doesn't want to be around me is some of the evidence and part of the strategy of the shame identity in covering it all up with food. So knowing that I was coming home to an empty house, I was going to be alone, the unconscious evidence of if I'm alone, I must not be acceptable in some way, going into the shame spiral and covering it up with food. So that night that I had decided to do the longer intermittent fasting was the same night he wasn't going to be home, so I couldn't fast because I had been unconsciously triggered that he was out doing something without me. I wasn't acceptable. Went into a shame spiral and ate and then overate to soothe those feelings. This is what happens when we talk things out loud. We come to the conclusion, the underlying conclusion of what's really going on. So now let's talk about the rebellious part of it. What's the underlying cause, belief, feeling, strategy of using food as a rebellious act? Because it's not hurting anybody else but me when I overeat. And I think part of that strategy comes from being with my ex, who was a narcissist and always on me about how I looked and my weight, that is a jab back against him when he did things that felt hurtful and mean. I'm going to show you want me to be a certain weight. I'm not going to be that weight for you. So as a rebellion, I'm going to eat to put on the weight to hurt you. But then would also go down the shame spiral unconsciously, subconsciously, because knowing I was hurting myself, but I was only hurting myself, but not him. I also kind of think part of the rebellion of eating as a way of getting back is I am doing something. I'm not just sitting here waiting on you, even though it's just eating. See, I had dinner without you when it's something that we usually did together. I didn't wait for you, like you weren't waiting for me. I don't need you, just like you don't need me. But how do I know that's true? Especially now that I'm in a healthy relationship and I'm not with my ex anymore. And why do I have the belief that we must do everything together 24/7? Because that's not the case. I consciously know that. What's the unconscious belief that just because he chose to go to the shooting club, that he doesn't need me? Especially since I chose not to go. And I enjoy my time home alone sometimes. So now it's starting to feel ridiculous. So what would I want to ask myself, and I'm going to go a different direction. What would happen if I didn't choose to use food as a rebellion? I wouldn't have to rebel because there's nothing to rebel against. What would happen if I did choose food? I would continue to put on weight and harm myself. So what would be a better strategy than to rebel with food? Well, now that I have awareness, I can start practicing using other things like having a conversation with somebody else. I don't have to come home to an empty house. I could choose to go do something else on Wednesday nights. I could come home and choose a healthy meal and watch a movie, something that I know that he wouldn't watch, that I would only watch by myself. I could stay at work and catch up on things. There's a million other things I could do that would be healthier versions than eat. So I ask myself, do I want to keep living this way? And the answer is no. So now that I have awareness, and I can practice catching myself in those moments where that old strategy comes up and interrupt it with something different. And I think I'm going to choose I think on Wednesday I will choose to come home and intermittent fast. One, to prove to myself that I can do it. Two, to prove to myself that I don't need food to soothe being alone and being a rebel, a rebellious child in the moment. And I get to come home and journal on what's happening in the moment for myself. And realizing that just because Quentin chose shooting on Wednesday nights doesn't mean anything about me. And that I made it mean something about me. And I get to change that meaning. And that meaning is he gets to spend those 2 hours with his son, and I get to go do whatever I want for those 2 hours that nourishes me, and not feel guilty about doing it and spending time away from Quentin in the moment. So there you go. Me processing out loud the fear of intermittent fasting for 24 hours versus coming home and eating and overeating and eating, choosing what I ate, choosing the comfort food in the moment. So now I have a new practice, creating a new strategy for myself that I get to practice and refine along the way. I hope this helps. As always, my beautiful souls, live radiantly and stay true to you.